this morning to attend our breathing boot camp, the power of learning to control our breath with, of course, our in-house osteopath and amazing yoga guru, yoga instructor, whatever you want me to call you, but you know you're the yoga master, Andrea Lee. Hello, Andrea. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I've missed you. I haven't seen you in so long. We're
I
going
was
into
thinking
week
the same thing.
6.
I know. It's incredible.
Right? Time is literally flying, but I feel, you know what, it's always so nice to be on all these boot camp, or not these boot camps, these webinars, sorry, with you guys, because at least it's just a little way of me staying connected to you guys and seeing you guys virtually. So thank you again for taking on these amazing Friday feels. I know everyone has been wondering how they can kind of, work on their breath better, learn how to incorporate this into movement, because it's important. I feel like not enough people talk about the importance of breathing and the importance of learning how to actually exercise in a way that actually benefits our breath, our diaphragm, and everything else. So you're going to take us through kind of the importance of it today. You're obviously going to just, give us a nice little Friday feel movement series too, right?
Yes.
Okay, we're excited. So I will not delay you guys any further because I know Andrea always has a bunch of amazing things she wants to cover. So I'll let you take it away, and I'll be here in the background.
Okay, great. I'm just going to move in a little bit here. Okay, hi guys. I hope everybody can hear me. I have a new technique now where I have an earbud so I can move around and you can hear me clearly. Can you guys hear? Satna, can you hear me? Yep, okay, perfect. All right, so let's flip over to our very first slide here. So welcome to our breathing boot camp. We will move on to that slide. Do I have access to the slide myself? No, I don't think I do.
You know what? We might be having tech difficulties with Jocelyn. Jocelyn, can you change the slide? Oh, there we go. Okay, never mind.
Perfect.
We're good.
Awesome. Okay. Well, okay. So this is what we're going to do today. We're going to talk a little bit about the physiology of our breath and the importance of learning to control our breathing. So first and foremost, we need to maybe take a look. Andrea, can you increase your volume? Okay, let me see. Can you guys hear me better? Is that okay? Sapna, can you guys hear just so I know? Yeah, you can? Okay, perfect.
Sorry, yeah, I muted myself. Yeah, no, I can hear you just fine.
You can hear me? Okay, so I didn't see who wrote that. Maybe on your computer you'll have a control to turn it up a little bit. And oh, you can. Awesome. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, so physiology of our breath. So I think to understand how important breathing really is, we first need to understand the physiology of what breathing really does for our body. So we know that we need oxygen in all of our tissues to survive. So every single cell in our entire body requires oxygen for production, right? For it to actually to work. And at that same level, we do need to rid our body of waste material also through our breath. So when we breathe in oxygen. Oxygen travels to all of our tissues. And when we exhale waste material from all of those cells as well. So what I wanted to focus on is understanding our breath. And I also want to share with you guys some yoga techniques. So again, keeping in mind, yoga is like a 5,000-year-old modality. We've talked about this in some of my previous workshops. And it's pretty incredible what we can do when we create mindful breath. So first of all, we need to understand our breath. So we're going to start with a meditation, and we're going to bring some awareness to understanding our own breath and how we breathe. And then we're going to go into an assessment of ourselves. So we're going to be able to understand how we have been breathing. And we're going to also look at a new way of breathing. So understanding how we can create a more effective breath. And that breath is actually going to help us to supply oxygen to those tissues as we spoke to, but it's also going to be able to help us control perhaps some conditions that we might actually be working with medically as well, like for example, anxiety, perhaps teeth grinding, headaches, digestion. So there's a lot of things that we can do just using our breath. So I'd like to bring some awareness to that and give you an opportunity to explore that as well. We're going to try something called Ujjayi breath, which is a very common breath to be used in yoga. So it's going to teach us a bit of a different way. It's almost like we're going to workshop some yoga movements using this breath, that if you do practice yoga, that you'll be able to take some of these breath techniques into your yoga practice, whether or not you're cued by your yoga instructor. It's something that you might be able to do on a regular basis. So you might really enjoy the Ujjayi breath. Then we're going to try something a little bit different called a Kapalabhati breath. And that is actually a Kundalini style yoga breath. So it's a really interesting one that helps to purify our body. according to the Kundalini technique and way of thinking. So very cool breath technique. And then we're going to end with wave breath. So we're going to better understand our diaphragm, how our diaphragm is moving, and we're going to be able to control our breath in that way. At the end, I'd like to talk a little bit about a meditation. So we're going to explore controlling our nervous system through our breath. And that includes our autonomic nervous system. So it's all pretty cool stuff. And again, we're going to mix modern medicine concepts with ancient technique, and that would be the 5,000-year-old yoga philosophies. So I hope you guys are excited as I am, because I love this stuff. But awesome. It's like you could read my mind, Jocelyn. You're so on point with my slide changing. I love it. Okay, everybody take a look at this slide here. And I so love that this one's in here. So basically, when we go to breathe in, we can take in oxygen two ways. We can take it in through our nose or through our mouth. So if we were to all take a breath now, you can all try it now. Breathe in through your mouth. Oh, thank you with the cursor. That's awesome. So let's go back to the mouth there. Maybe we can just demonstrate with the cursor. We can demonstrate oxygen coming in through our mouth. You can see that it travels in through your mouth. That's your tongue there. I know it's hard to visualize all of this. And then all the way down into your throat. So as we breathe in, oxygen comes all the way down into your throat and then eventually down into your lungs, where it's used for gas exchange and so on, which we'll talk about in just a minute. The way that we're actually meant to breathe, truth be told, is through our nose. And there's several reasons for that. So we can travel up, that's actually meant to be a nose up there. So oxygen comes in through the nose. Right off the bat, we have little nose hairs. We have tiny little hairs in our nose that actually are meant to catch some of the debris. So for example, let's just say we've been dusting our home and there's a little bit of dust in the air, and then we go to take a breath into our nose. Those little hairs, they'll catch a lot of the larger particles. That's what they're meant to do. Those hairs are little cilia, they're called cilia, are actually lining the entire nasal cavity all the way down to almost the throat. So those little cilia, they vibrate. They just sit in the nose and they just vibrate. And their job is to catch, again, all of those little debris when we breathe in through our nose. There's little cells along the lining of the inside of the cavity of the sinuses up there. You'll see that big cavity up above your nose. Those are your sinuses. We always wonder what those sinuses are for, because they just get so infected and give us headaches all the time. They have great purposes. We're going to talk a little bit about them. But along the inside lining of those sinuses and all the way down into the throat, you have little goblet cells that produce mucus. So that's a very healthy body producing the mucus. The cilia are vibrating. As we inhale, the hairs catch some of the larger debris, and the mucus itself will trap some of the smaller particles. And then the body actually has a mechanism to be able to excrete and release. So the cilia vibrate and they push the mucus along and they push all the bacteria along, so that we either swallow it or we expel it through sneezing, coughing, or through our mouth. We have a lot of different, combatants in our blood cells that will go in and destroy bacteria along the way. So if we breathe in through our nose, we're actually giving our body more of a chance to purify the air. So purification is one of the reasons we breathe through our nose. Secondly, another reason would be is to heat up the air, right? So in the middle of winter, we know it's very, very cold. So if we take a quick breath in through our mouth, it's actually a little bit shocking to our lungs. If we breathe in through our nose nice and slowly, then it's going to help to heat all of the air as it comes in, so that when it arrives in the lungs, it's more of a calming experience rather than a jarring, fast-paced experience. And it's less stimulatory to our nervous system. So those are a couple reasons. So the sinuses up there, I just want to touch on that, because I do see a lot of my patients that come in with sinus type infections. And I do a lot of work with that myself, with sinus infections for my patients. But what are they even there for? There's a couple reasons for those sinuses. As we're talking, and you can experiment with this later, it helps to create a bit of a resonance so our voice can be heard. So it's interesting because it's an empty cavity. There's actually a few pairs of sinuses that we have in our cranial cavity here. And so first of all, is that resonance. Also, it lightens the weight of our head. So it creates these chambers to help to create a little bit of space, because our head is quite heavy. So it helps to create some, less weight. And then also it provides the passageway for air that helps to purify, cleanse, and heat. So those sinuses are very, very important, and they do a great job. And yes, they can get infected, and so can a lot of the tissue along the way, but our body does a really good job of using these spaces to help to eliminate bacteria. So we can move on to the next slide here. So breathing through our nose is going to be one of the focuses for this particular workshop. And we'll better understand the importance of that as we move along. So you'll see in this diagram here, we just spoke to how oxygen enters into our body versus, from our nasal through our nose or through our mouth. We explored that, and we'll see as we can see on the slide here, as the air enters, it travels down into each of your lungs. And at the very bottom of this particular picture, I have a picture of the alveoli. So again, this is all stuff that we don't necessarily need to know, but I think it's so interesting when we understand our own physiology. As air enters all the way down into the depths of your lung, it comes to the end point. The end point is right there, the alveoli. They look like a little sack of grapes down there. And there's both arterioles, as well as arterials. So you have both the veins and the arteries at this end point. They create a little capillary. And as you breathe in, oxygen is transferred into the blood. And at the same time, waste material, so I was telling you, deoxygenated blood or blood that our body's already used up, is then absorbed back into the alveoli, and you breathe out and it's expelled. That's a very, in a nutshell, scenario of how your respiratory system and your vascular system are interconnected. But inhaling brings oxygen in through the lungs and then pushes it into the blood and presses it all the way through your whole body, where it's then absorbed into the cells and used up. And then all the used up materials are then reabsorbed into your bloodstream and pushed back out, and you expel all of the waste materials through your lungs, or a lot of them through your lungs. So it's very important that we take deep, full breaths to supply our entire body with oxygen. So that's another thing we're going to talk a little bit about today. One other thing to touch on as well, before we get going here, because I promised you 15 minutes only of my physiology crazy talks, is the importance of our diaphragm. So we'll see the diaphragm. If we ever heard of our respiratory diaphragm, we have a few diaphragms in our body, but the respiratory diaphragm is located, and I have myself pushed right up here, is located right here. So right at the base of our ribs. So this is the xiphoid process right here, this little section here, underneath the base of the ribs. So you'll see in the diagram there, that's like a band of muscle, and it looks like an umbrella. So it's literally a dome shape. So you can see on the right-hand side there, there's only 3 holes in that band of muscle that actually allow for passage of fluid from your chest cavity, your thoracic cage, into your abdomen, and then vice versa. So fluid can only travel through 3 different holes. One is for your veins, your vena cava, one is for your arteries, so for your aorta, and one is for your esophagus, so you can swallow food and it can go down into your stomach. So those 3 holes, and that's it, and that band of muscle there. So we look above the band of muscle, the diaphragm, and that picture on the right-hand side will show us that the heart is actually tethered heavily to the diaphragm. So you can see that through your pericardia, yeah. So all of that fascia there tethers the heart directly onto the diaphragm. The same thing with the lungs. The lungs on either side. So if we look over to the left-hand side there, you'll see the lungs are also tethered onto the diaphragm through fascial tissue. And then beneath the diaphragm, so right underneath the diaphragm, on the right-hand side there sits, well, you'll see on the picture, sorry, it shows you on the left, but it's actually on your right, sits your liver. So your liver is pretty big. It takes up a lot of the space, but it's tethered on through fascia onto the diaphragm. And on the opposite side, you'll see there's your stomach, your spleen, and your pancreas, and they're all also tethered right up onto the diaphragm. And then beneath that is all your digestive organs, like your colon and your small intestines as well. So we're going to get into understanding the diaphragm. If you can envision yourself taking a breath, or you can even try it right now yourself. If you are to take an inhale, you'll notice that the ribs will expand and that dome-shaped diaphragm will actually flatten out. So as you inhale, everything will flatten out. And as you exhale, it domes back up. As you inhale, it flattens out. And as you exhale, it domes back up. So if you've ever heard, I don't know if you've ever heard in yoga, if you've attended a class, they've spoken to you giving yourself an internal massage. I know that sounds really funny. That's something that they used to say, and it makes so much sense, because as we inhale and as we exhale, we're literally moving our organs. So you can envision that. If your heart and your lungs are tethered to your diaphragm through fascia, if your liver, your stomach, and all of the organs underneath that are all tethered together through fascia to to the diaphragm, then as you inhale and exhale, you're literally moving, like almost like a pump. You're moving some of the tissue. So your hepatic portal system, that's really important for us to know here too. That is how blood transfers from your lower abdominal organs through your intestines, through your colon, through everything. It's how it transfers back up and traverses back up through the diaphragm. It comes through the hepatic portal system, which is your liver. So as you take a breath in, it pushes everything down, and as you exhale, it creates a dome and allows almost like for a suction for everything to transfer back up. Okay, so that is a lot of science, a lot of physiology, a lot of anatomy, but at the end of the day, the big takeaways that I really wanted us to, before we start our practice, to really understand is first and foremost the importance of breathing through our nose. So that's number one. Next to that, and first of all, the reasons behind breathing through our nose. And then next to that, the importance of understanding diaphragmatic breathing. So we're gonna focus on diaphragmatic breath as well. So I'm just gonna adjust this so you guys can see me. All right, so what you're gonna look for right now is a comfortable seat. So see if you can find yourself, if you have a yoga mat, you're gonna wanna come to your mat. Good, if you have a block to sit on, great. If you find you're not able to get onto the ground, then you can grab a chair. You're welcome to sit in a chair. Or if you'd like, if you have an issue with your back right now or you're having trouble sitting, you're welcome to experience all of these movements laying down. So come into a comfortable seated position, whatever that might mean for you, cross-legged, up on your block. If you don't have a block and you'd like to be raised up, feel free to add some books. Maybe you have some books you could sit on as well. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna start with a meditation. So let's just see if we can create some space. Okay, good. So creating a nice long spine. Good, palms facing towards the ceiling. Let's just see if we can take a moment to tune into our own breath. So let's see right now if we can attempt not to control our breath, but just to observe. See if we can slowly bring the weight of our body onto our sit bones. We're going to tuck our pelvis under, contracting through the core, so pulling our navel towards our xiphoid process, which is the end of our ribs right here, our sternum. So try and pull everything together, create a nice long spine. Good, pulling our shoulders up towards our ears, and then we're going to squeeze our shoulder blades behind us, and we're just going to drop our shoulders down, landing with our palms towards the ceiling. Good. And in our mind's eye, see if we can take our thoughts, distill them down to again just focus on our breath. And what does it sound like? What does your breath sound like? Observe if you find it more comfortable to breathe through your mouth or through your nose. Let's see if we can take a moment just to absorb the understanding of how we take oxygen into our body. So let's begin by a mouth breath. So just focusing in on what it is to breathe through our mouth. And when we're ready, we're going to close the mouth and we're going to breathe through the nose. And see if we can envision that diagram that we just looked at. What does it feel like to breathe in through our nose, understanding all of the tissue in through our nasal cavity? Just observing as we breathe in, that air is traveling in through our nose, up into our sinuses, and then down through the backs of our throats, all the way down into our lungs. And at the depths of our lungs, that's where that gas exchange takes place. So as we take a deep breath in, oxygenated blood then travels into those arteries and travels all the way through our body, supplying every bit of tissue with oxygenated blood, right from the tops of our head to the bottoms of our feet. Every single cell gets a dose of oxygen. And as we exhale then, tuning our mind's eye into observing that all of the waste material that was used up by those cells is then transferred into your venous system and travels all the way back out through your breath. Let's just take a moment and observe our breath. Good. So we're going to attempt a breathing assessment now. So we're going to take our right hand and we're going to place it just at the base of our ribs. So you can feel where your ribs are, and you can feel where your soft belly might be, unless you have abs, and I'm just kidding. Anyway, so nice soft belly down here. Your left hand is going to go on the belly. Your right hand is going to go here at the base of your ribs. And it's just a very gentle, soft touch. And this touch is just an assessment. So we're just going to observe our breath. And what you're going to observe is which of these two hands do you find is rising and falling? Is your bottom hand over top of your belly, do you find that is the hand that is rising and falling? Or is it more the hand at the base of your ribs? There's no right answer. Just observe. So once we've had a moment to observe our breath, yogis call a breath where the top hand would rise before the bottom hand. They call that reversed breathing. So oftentimes when we create a bit of a core contraction and we're stabilizing through our core, we find we're deeper chest breathers. We tend to breathe into our ribs more than we breathe using our diaphragm. So speaking quickly about some more physiology, because you know that's what I love, we'll talk a little bit about the implications of chest breathing. So if we think of a lot of us, a lot of patients at Integra, because we're right downtown, we tend to be people who work at our desks a fair bit. So if we're always working at our desks and we're always crunched forward, or if we find ourselves in times of high stress, we might be clenching our jaw a lot, we might be holding our shoulders forward, we might be contracting through our core, and we might be contracting through our glutes. If a perceived stress outside of our body creates these types of physical contractions, which is very, very, very common, then this is called a psychosomatic response. So our psychology, so our stress response is to create somatic tension, so a psychosomatic reflex. If that's the case, then we're contracting through our core. We might often find we're breathing more through our chest. And the reverse is true. So interestingly enough, if, for example, we create a lot of tension in our core, then it might have an impact then on our psychology. So if we're creating a lot of tension in our core because this is perhaps how we've always been breathing, or we are creating that tension, but we don't necessarily have anxiety or stress outside of us, then us creating that kind of tension and breathing through our chest actually will perpetuate the opposite. So it'll actually perpetuate the feelings of anxiousness or nervousness, the lack of calm. So the reflex, that's a little bit of modern medicine looped in with some yogic concept, but the modern concept would be that the reflex works both ways. So that's something to observe. If you're someone who's working through anxiety or stress right now, which is likely a lot of us considering our circumstance right now, as well as perhaps some insomnia. If you suffer with insomnia, with chronic headaches, with jaw tension, then you might want to be exploring the way that we breathe. So these types of responses, as I mentioned, like jaw tension, teeth grinding, even digestive related concerns, headaches, anxiety, might be perpetuated by tension and stress, in which case we can do what we can to help to release the tension and stress, which might then have an impact on the reflex. I hope that makes sense. But let's see if we can try then to find ways to release the tension if we found that we are one that has that reversed breath. Even if we're not, it's good practice to understand that we are in control of our movement and of our health that way too. So it's quite empowering when we know that we can actually control some of the physiological response to how our body is moving. So let's then try some belly breath. This is actually a little bit interesting to get used to. So if you haven't tried this before, you may actually want to lay down. So you're welcome to lay down on your back. Then there's less variables to take into consideration. If you'd like to continue to sit up, or if you're sitting in a chair, that's great as well. So what we're going to do with this breath is that we're going to take a nice big breath in, and then we're going to force an exhale. So squeezing through our core, contracting through our core. And then as we continue to contract at the bottom of our breath, we're just going to release and let our belly fill. So let your belly puff out. Good. So again, this takes a little bit of time to get used to. So as we inhale, nice big breath in. And as we exhale, we're going to squeeze through our core and envision yourself pushing out all the air that you can. And when you release, allow your belly to expand. Good. And on this inhalation, we're going to expand our belly first. So if it helps to place your hands on your lower belly, we can do that too. So as we take a nice big breath in, breathe in through our belly, and we'll let the exhale happen. So we'll attempt not to force both an inhalation and an exhalation. We're going to attempt just to force the inhalation. So nice big breath in, pushing air into our belly. Exhale, letting it go. Good. Another big breath in. And exhale, letting it all go. So I'll let you continue to work through that cycle. And I'm just going to remind you as you continue to breathe that when we inhale, we're flattening out that diaphragm. So again, we're pushing all of those abdominal organs down when that diaphragm flattens out. And as we exhale, the diaphragm domes back up again and creates space. So it's almost like we feel as we inhale, we create a bit of tension or pressure in through our abdomen. And then as we exhale, we'll feel that our abdomen releases. Something else as you continue to breathe, so continuing to work through your breath. Something else for us to keep in mind as well is that the diaphragm itself connects to L3, which is at the base of your spine. So right at the very, well, almost the base of our spine. So if we're working on lower back issues, then diaphragmatic breaths will be very helpful for us. Because as you inhale, and perhaps you can observe this now, you can even take your hands, and if you'd like to, you can place them on your lower back. I'm just changing my leg position. And feel free to do that at any time as well. But taking our hands, we'll place them on our lower back. And as you take that belly breath, you can actually feel that your lower back is moving. So you can feel as you exhale, you'll feel perhaps more of an arch in your lower back. And as you inhale, you'll almost feel as if your ribs are expanding and as if the lower back arch is pushing posterior backwards. So just have you observe that. See if you can feel a change in your back. As you inhale, allow yourself to create space in through your ribs and through your lower back. And as you exhale, our diaphragm is doming. Good. And we'll allow for that pressure gradient to change. So as we inhale, pressure is then pressed the pressure down into your abdomen. Good. And as we exhale, we almost create a bit of a sense of relaxation through our back and through our abdomen as well. Good. So now I'll have you take those hands. So take your right hand, you're going to place it on the base of your spine, on the base of your ribs here. You're going to place it there. On your left hand is going to go on the soft of your belly. And as you take a breath in, I'd like you just to observe. So we'll do another assessment. Can you feel that your bottom hand now is moving more than the top hand? If you were one that observed that you had more of a reversed style breath. So we're going to take a few breaths here and reminding ourselves the reasoning behind this style of breath. It's not only a centering, grounding type of breath, it also promotes fluid movement from your lower body, from your pelvic organs, from your abdominal organs back up through to be expelled. It's also corrective for your lower back, calming for your nervous system. As we spoke to, it helps to undo that psychosomatic reaction that we can often get. So you could do this. You could do this sitting at your desk. You can do this when you get home from work. You can do it before you begin work. You can do this before a presentation if you want to stay calm. Good. So if you've been doing this laying on your back, I challenge you then to come into a seated position and see if we can attempt just a couple more breaths. Good. We're going to hold on to that belly breath as a diaphragmatic breath as one of our techniques we're going to use throughout our practice. But next, we're going to explore a really interesting breath called Ujjayi breath. So when I'm teaching yoga, I often love to incorporate this breath into a class, but it does take a little bit of time to get the hang of. So I love that we're doing this workshop. So once we're all able to go to classes again, or even on your own time as you're creating movement in your own space at home, then you're going to be able to use this breath as well. So Ujjayi breath has a few purposes. One of which, if you understand the yoga concept, let me just preface, yoga itself, the word, means connection of your mind, your body, and your spirit, or mind, body, and your breath. So connecting your breath to movement, when you think of asana practice or your yoga practice of the movement, they're called asanas. Those particular asanas are meant to warm up tissue and to allow for you to elongate, move, and create space. Most often, some are to stabilize, but for the most part, to create space, to understand your movement, and to release tension. But to do that, we need to create heat. So often yoga practices are designed to create a little bit of warmth before we then work to stretch tissue. The breath itself also creates warmth. So this Ujjayi breath is going to help us to do that. Also, because of the breath, and you'll know in just a moment once we start to do the breath, it also creates a sound, and that sound is meant for you to tune your mind's eye into your breath. So it almost helps to channel your mind to focus on your breath, which is also heating your body, which is preparing you for the movement. So Ujjayi breath. If you love Star Wars like I do, then you can think of Darth Vader. You're going to sound like Darth Vader. I know that sounds really attractive.
Andrea, sorry. I
Yeah.
don't mean to interrupt. I do feel like this is a relevant question right now. Just asking
Yeah.
if it's normal to feel a little lightheaded.
Oh, and the person must have felt lightheaded while doing the diaphragmatic breath.
Yeah, that one came through.
So,
yeah.
Yes. Okay. So a couple things. Thank you for pointing that out. And sorry, I didn't even see that comment come in. Yes, there might be a couple reasons why you may have felt lightheaded. In yoga philosophy, they say that yes, you might feel lightheaded. But then my osteopathic brain, modern medicine, comes in, and I want to preface, please be mindful as we're moving through some of these practices. Your diaphragmatic breath is safe to do. Your Ujjayi breath will also be safe for you to do if you feel dizzy, if you feel lightheaded. I'd like for you then to, whatever you're doing, I'd like you to just sit down or relax. So if we're going through a motion and you feel lightheaded, then please just come into a recovery pose. A recovery pose can just be seated. A recovery pose can be just laying down. If you felt lightheaded when you were laying down doing the diaphragmatic breath to sitting up, that might have just been blood flow. So I'd like you to observe how you're feeling right now. And if you continue to feel lightheaded, then maybe I'll just encourage you to watch what we're doing. And I know that our workshop is being recorded, so you're always welcome to come back to it. And at that same note, if you continue to feel lightheaded, or if anyone else feels any discomfort of any sort, then again, just please stop and we can watch. And then I'd love to chat with you a little bit more about what you specifically felt in the Q&A. So we'll do a Q&A towards the end of our talk here. So just hold on to that, but be safe first and foremost. Ujjayi breath, the one we're about to do, is also very safe for a lot of different conditions. I do, though, encourage you, if you have a heart condition, to just be aware of the amount of pressure. The next one we're going to do, Kapalabhati breath. This one is going to have contraindications, but I'll talk about that in just a moment. So let's focus on Ujjayi breath. Was that okay? Let me just see what this person says. Okay, so I'll come back to some of these questions towards the end here, but we'll get on to our Ujjayi breath. Okay, so nice long spine. Back to Darth Vader, guys. Back to my Star Wars reference. A little Star Wars in my life. So nice long spine. Good. So come into a comfortable seat just till we get the hang of our breath here. Good. Nice long spine. Good. So envision yourself, if you know what I mean by I want you to sound like Darth Vader, which maybe you do, maybe you don't. Also take a reference if you don't know who that is or you're not interested in that analogy, then you're going to take your hand, you're going to put it in front of your mouth. And what I want you to do is I just want you to exhale onto your hand. If you have glasses, envision yourself cleaning your glasses or even your sunglasses. So as you exhale, it's that huff that you would create, and that huff resonates through the back of your throat. So take a nice big breath in, and as you exhale, you're going to let the breath resonate through the back of your throat. So continue on as I talk. You can keep attempting this Ujjayi breath. As you take a breath in, allow the air to expand, and as you exhale, you're going to make that Darth Vader sound, or like you're fogging a mirror, or you're cleaning your glasses. Good. So nice big inhale, exhale. Good. So continue with this breath. If it's okay for you, if it feels comfortable, I'd like you to now close your mouth. So you're going to inhale through your nose, and you're going to exhale through your nose. Good. A few more of those. Take a nice deep breath in. And as you exhale, allow that air to resonate through the back of your throat. Envision yourself just cleaning out your respiratory system. So as you exhale, allow that air to travel through the back of your throat, exhaling through your nose. Good. As you get more comfortable, continue on with your breath and practicing your Ujjayi breath. As you get more comfortable with your Ujjayi breath, you're then able to utilize this through every asana that you create. So every movement that we create, we're able to incorporate this style of breath. In the beginning, it sounds quite loud. So if you've ever been in a yoga class, you might actually hear people doing this. But once, like I said, once we get used to it, we can actually create this with very little sound. So let's see if we can create some movement now. So nice long spine, take a nice big breath in. And as we exhale, we're going to drop our head, our chin down towards our chest. Continue with your Ujjayi breath. Inhaling, head back to neutral. Exhaling, we're going to look over our left shoulder with your Ujjayi breath as an exhale. Inhaling, head back into neutral. And as we exhale, Ujjayi breath, chin towards the right shoulder. Inhaling back to neutral. And as we exhale, we're going to take our fingers, we're going to place our fingers behind our backs. We're going to squeeze our shoulder blades together. We're going to open up through the chest. Good. So once we feel that expansion, continue with your breath. Good. Take a nice big breath in and allow your ribs to expand. Allow yourself to create some space in through your chest. And as you exhale, Ujjayi breath. Good. On the next inhalation, we're going to release our arms, come back into neutral. Good. Inhaling, we're going to bring our arms up into a cactus position. Good. Take a nice big breath in. We're going to rotate towards the left using our Ujjayi breath. As we exhale. Good. Inhaling back to neutral. Using our Ujjayi breath as we exhale to the right. Inhaling all the way back to neutral. Let's try it one more time. Ujjayi breath to the left. Good. Inhaling all the way back to neutral. Ujjayi breath to the right. Good. Inhaling back to neutral. Bring our arms all the way back down. Good. So that's just a little experience of what it would be like to use your Ujjayi breath with your movement. So if you have a yoga practice, or if we're going to do some more yoga in the future, you might want to practice using that breath. So it's, again, the Ujjayi breath is meant to be warming, so it heats up the tissue. It's also quite meditative. So as you're exhaling, it gives your mind's eye something to think about or to focus on that connects you to your breath. So we often understand through meditation, it can be quite difficult to create linear thoughts or to calm our minds down and think linearly. And that's what meditation is in its essence. So for us to then have a breath to focus on is going to give us an opportunity to focus that way of thinking. So the next I'd like you to try is Kapalabhati breath. This is a really interesting one, but I will tell you first and foremost, again, if you're feeling lightheaded, I'd like you to just observe. If you're pregnant, this isn't one for you. So again, I'd like you to just observe. If you suffer with any heart conditions or vascular conditions such as previous strokes, I'd then like you also to just observe. So medical conditions that are predominant, those are the ones that I think of immediately. But again, if this doesn't feel comfortable for you, then again, I'll just have you observe. But this one is, someone's asking. Oh, okay. Anyway, so I'm going to have you come onto your seat. So if you have that block, you're going to put the block underneath your seat. If you'd like to do this in your chair, you're more than welcome to do this in your chair. The Kundalini style of yoga helps us to create balance in through our energy field. So it is a little bit of a different way of thinking of things. But Kundalini yoga, there's so much benefit to this. But Kundalini yoga would say that this breath helps to purify your energy. So that would be a 5,000-year-old way of thinking, which has so much relevance to the way we're going to work today. But also correlating that back to a functional anatomy way of thinking, this type of breath is going to really help to stimulate your diaphragm. So it's going to give that reflex. If we have, like, say, for example, a ton of tension in through our ribs and through our abdomen and through our lower body, then this style of breath is going to help to basically regain control over that reflex. Also, it's going to help to release a lot of muscle tension if we have it. It is a little funny to do, so I want you to just practice this. And again, you're probably all by yourself or with one or two other people at your house, so no big deal if you look really funny doing this one. Y'all get to see me looking really funny, but whatever. So hand on our belly. So most of the breaths that we've done so far, we have focused on the inhale. This time we're going to focus on the exhale. So we're going to push air out. So when I say push, I mean your hand is literally just palpating, very gently touching. So I don't want you pressing, I just want you palpating. So what is going to create the contraction is your abdomen. So hand can go on your belly just to palpate. And what I'm going to have you do is exhale. So you're going to contract your core. You're going to contract your core and exhale and push the air out. And it sounds like, if you guys can hear that. So hand on your lower belly. And again, if you get dizzy, then I want you to stop. So we're going to do this 10 times in a row, and we're going to go really, really slowly. So hands palpating, and we're going to exhale. Good. So it's definitely get some fluid moving. But anyway, excuse me. So, which is really good. So as we force out the exhale, you'll notice that the inhale just happens. So we force the exhale. As you force the exhale, you release that tension. Your belly just naturally fills back up. So that's what I'd like you to observe. We're going to try it again for 10 more. Good. So palpating just gently, not pressing. Both hands. Ready? Good. So we've observed that 10 times, twice. So how this is recommended, it's recommended to do this 30 times in a row. So have you observed too, because you're not with me, I'd prefer to be teaching this in person. So I'll have you just, if you're going to practice Kapalabhati breath, then you're going to do it if you can in really small chunks and do what feels comfortable. Lightheadedness is something you may feel. If that's the case, then again, I want you to stop. Any dizziness or nausea, again, absolutely, I need you to stop. And if you had those contraindications, then this one is not for you. We are going to try this 10 times a lot quicker. And I'm going to give you a cue by clapping. So let's try this again. So create a nice long spine. Again, we're going to force the exhale, allow your belly to fill. Okay, ready? Take a nice big breath in. Exhale and go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I know that felt really fast. We're going to try that one more time. When are we inhaling is what someone's asking. Okay, so just to recap, so we exhale, you're pushing the oxygen out, you just release, and your body just inhales on its own. So exhale, that's how it looks. So it's quick paced. So you force the exhale, it automatically inhales. Force the exhale, and someone says they're running out of breath by number 7. Okay, so then when you feel like you're running out of breath, then I'll just have you reset. Okay, so you can just stop and then reset. 7's actually pretty good for your very first time. So last time we're going to try this. We're going to move a little bit quicker as we just were. So again, you're going to force the exhale, allow the inhale to fill back up. So hands on your belly. Ready? Take a nice big breath in and exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Okay, so we're going to leave that there, but that's Kapalabhati breath. So keeping in mind, Kapalabhati breath is about understanding how we calm our nervous system down and create balance in our nervous system, and also to release tension in through our lower belly. Kapalabhati breath is also known to be the breath of fire in some yogic philosophies, and others it does not. But it's known to be the breath of fire, which helps to stimulate you. So when I say balance our nervous system, if we're feeling too sluggish or if we're feeling too excited, it'll help to bring us back to neutral, but then slightly weigh the scales more towards higher energy. You can understand how that felt. So quick, fast breathing, forcible exhales, release tissue tension, but help to stimulate us and balance us out. So that's Kapalabhati breath. So we've done understanding our belly breath. We've done Ujjayi breath, and we've done Kapalabhati breath. So I'd like us to focus on a meditation. So we're gonna skip the one that I was suggesting where we pull our knees in. So we'll skip that one, the waterfall breath. But instead, we're gonna do another calming breath. I'm gonna substitute that. So what I'd like you to do is just take your fingers like this. So we'll create this like rock on sign from the 60s here. So we'll do this. I think that was rock on sign. And there goes my dog. Good. So we'll create this hand here. So we're going to actually call this nasal breath. So right and left side nasal breath. So what we're going to do is we're going to control the oxygen entering into one nostril, and we're going to control the oxygen entering out the other nostril. If anyone's ever used a neti pot, which they highly recommend when practicing breathing practices in yoga, but if you've ever used a neti pot, then you understand the connectivity of understanding how fluid, or in this case air, will travel in through one nostril, is then transferred in through your sinuses, and then transfers out the other nostril. So this is what we're going to attempt to do. All right, so creating this hand like this, we're going to inhale. So you're going to plug your left nostril with your pinky finger. leaving your thumb finger free and your right nostril is free. So take a nice big breath in through your right nostril. Plug your right nostril with your thumb, release your finger, exhale through your left nostril. Now inhale again through your left nostril. Plug your left nostril with your pinky finger, release your thumb, and exhale through your right nostril. Inhale through the right nostril, plug it with your thumb, release with your pinky, exhale through the left. Inhale again through the left, plug with your pinky, release your thumb, exhale through your right. Good, and then inhale again through your right. Plug with your thumb, release with your pinky, exhale through your left. Good. Inhale through your left nostril. Place your pinky finger on your left nostril, release with your thumb, exhale through your right nostril. Good. Inhale through your right nostril, replace with your thumb, release with your pinky, exhale through your left nostril. Inhale through your right nostril, or left nostril, pardon me, replace with your pinky, release your thumb, exhale through your right. Good. Last time, inhale through your right nostril, replace with your thumb, release your pinky, exhale through your left. Good, and inhale through your left nostril. You can bring your hands back down. So this is also thought to be a cleansing breath, as well as this is very, very helpful if we're feeling nervous or anxious, because it helps to streamline our breath. So the slower we can take in breath, if we think ourselves, for example, in a state where we're perhaps hyperventilating or we're like breathing really quickly because we're nervous, our game plan intuitively then would be to help to calm our breath down or to reverse the pace of that breath. If we're having trouble calming our breath down, then this is one way to do it. Breathing through our nose alone will help us to slow our breath down. Furthermore, our nostril breath will help to do that too. Okay, so just to recap our breath, we started with just a meditation, so exploring how air was coming into our respiratory system and the use of oxygen through our respiratory system. We then encouraged that we created a little bit more space and less muscle contraction, which then would allow for the oxygen to move freely through our body, but also would help with certain conditions such as anxiety, digestive issues, headaches, jaw clenching, insomnia. These are the types of things that we find that when we're really tense and tight into our thoracics and our abdomen, they are perpetuated by this type of tension. So we're able to undo some of that tension and to have an impact on these types of conditions by controlling and calming our breath and releasing this type of tension. So we did this, and then we worked on Ujjayi breath, which is a breath that we can practice in our yoga practice if we have a practice. It's one that we can just practice if we want to calm our minds, or if we're working on a meditation. This is a really helpful way to meditate, as we're able to listen, we're able to feel, we're able to listen to our breath as we're breathing, which helps to create linear thinking. So there's your Ujjayi breath. Also helps to warm up tissue. Kapalabhati breath, wanted to throw that in because that was a really interesting energetic flow type breath from Kundalini style of yoga. We talked about that, which also helps to heat up tissue, release muscle tension, and help to create some linear movement when it comes to your chakras, if you understand chakra theory. Maybe we'll do another workshop on chakras because there's so much to learn and it's pretty cool. And then just now we spoke a little bit more about controlling our breath, which we can actually use if we need to calm our minds. So nasal breathing alone, as well as diaphragmatic, as well as individual nasal breathing that we just learned now, are able to help us to create linear thoughts and to calm down our minds. So these are different techniques that we can use for these types of breath. So last I'm going to leave you with is going to be a meditation for your nervous system. So one thing we spoke to very briefly in the beginning is understanding that for the most part, our breath just happens. Just like our heart rate just happens. Just like our body organs know what to do when we eat food and digest. We don't have to tell them what to do. So this is called your autonomic nervous system. Your body automatically does a lot of these things, including your breath. So we are actually able to tune into our autonomic nervous system when we learn to control our breath. So we're able to kind of change our tone of our sympathetic nervous system by controlling our breath and calming our breath down. So we can, like, directly and indirectly have a huge impact on our nervous system just by breathing. So the last breath I'm going to leave you with is called a square breath. So it's a meditation for your nervous system. So find yourself in a nice, comfortable seated position, or you can lay down if you'd like, whatever is best for you. But I'd like you just to come into that comfortable space. We can end with our palms again facing towards the ceiling. And good. If we find ourselves in seated, then let's just create that length in our spine. So envision your pubic bone and your navel, and you're going to pull your pubic bone and navel together to create a length in through your lower back. Envision like you're a puppet on a string. So through the top of the crown of your head, you're creating length, so nice long spine. And then tuck your chin slightly. Good. Shoulders can come back and down. And if we're on our backs, then we're just going to release all of the tension that we're holding. Allow your palms to face towards the ceiling. Let your feet flop to the side. And if we're in our chair, same idea. Create lengthen through your spine. Good. So in our mind's eye, if you'd like to close your eyes, you're going to envision a square. And our breath is going to allow us to trace that square. So as we inhale, you can envision yourself starting at the lower left corner of your square. As you inhale, you're going to draw a line up the side of your square. You're going to pause at the top of your square. Pause. And that's going to be the line across the top. So as you pause, you're going to count, and I'll give you the count in just a moment. And as we exhale, we're going to envision ourselves drawing a line down the right side of your square. That's the exhalation. And as we pause, I'm going to give you the count again, but you're going to envision yourself drawing a line along the base of your square. Good. So I'd like you to try to begin with a count of 2 seconds. So you can follow me. So as we inhale, bottom left-hand corner of the square, as we inhale, we're going to inhale for 2 seconds. Draw the line up the side of your square. And as we pause, so at the top of your breath, you're going to pause for 2 seconds across the top, drawing a line across the top of your square. Good. And as we exhale for 2 seconds, we're going to draw a line down the right side of your square. And as we pause at the base of the exhalation, we're going to envision ourselves drawing a line along the base of our square. Good. Let's try that on our own time. So as we inhale for 2 seconds, up the side of the square, we're going to pause for 2 seconds at the top of our square. We're going to exhale down the right side of our square. Good. As we pause at the exhalation, the base of the exhalation, we're going to draw a line up along the bottom of our square. Good. I'll allow you to try that on your own time. So practice one full square. Good. And we're going to increase our number to 3. So in our mind's eye, we're going to stay calm. And as we inhale 3 seconds up the left-hand side of our square, we're going to pause at the height of our breath for 3 seconds, drawing a line along the top of our square. We're going to exhale along the right side of our square for 3 seconds. And at the base of our square, we're going to pause at the base of our exhalation for 3 seconds. Good. So I'll allow you to try that for 3 seconds on your own time. Good. So that's our square breath. Something that you might find helpful with your square breath, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling like you need to create some focus, if you're about to do a presentation and maybe you find yourself a little nervous before presentations, or you need to create clarity in your mind's eye, before you're about to communicate, you might find the square breath very helpful. I would suggest doing maybe 5 in a row. You can do them at any time. People will not know you're doing it, hopefully. Anyway, and you can also increase the length of pause to 5 seconds. So it's going to, sometimes it creates a little bit of uneasiness if we're pausing with an exhalation or pausing on an inhalation. So I'll challenge you to explore how that feels for you to pause before exhalation. So it's going to create some control over your breath. Okay, I hope that was helpful, guys. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to type them in the box. We'll go through a couple questions now if anybody is interested. Also, you're welcome to get in touch with me because I have office hours, but virtual, doing them through audio. So you're welcome to book yourself into my schedule using the Jane app, and they're free. So if you wanted to chat about anything at all, or if you want some clarification and you weren't able to speak up here on this platform, then you're more than welcome to get me through booking online. So let me just quickly look here.
Andrea,
yeah, hi.
The nature of time,
Yep.
what I've actually done is I've noted the questions down here.
Okay.
So what I was thinking is maybe what I could do is just forward these to you and then you can reach out to them directly.
Yeah, okay, for sure.
Just because we are a little bit over time here, so I definitely want to be respectful of that, because you know I wanted them to get the most out of that meditation there, so I didn't want to hurry it along. So is that something that everybody's okay with? Let me just make sure I get it all here. Sorry. Okay.
Oh, Regan's in Germany. Aw, I miss my patients. Sorry, I'm just reading through here and I'm like, aw. Okay. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to go back to work.
I think that kind of goes for all of us right now.
Yeah, I know, eh? Oh, Martha. I'm gonna have to go through all these and read. Okay, sure, we can definitely do that. We can get to some of these questions. I can contact people directly, or you're welcome, guys, to download and jump right onto my Jane app and book in with me if you want to chat. Yeah. And again, it's all free, so no big deal.
Some of them are a little bit more specific, so it'd probably be nicer for you to kind of tailor it to them specifically. Sure. So just wanted to remind everybody that we do have, this is sort of the virtual service portal that Andrea was mentioning. She does have complimentary meet and greets available. So you can go directly on our website to book in with her there, or those of you that have asked questions, she'll be reaching out to you directly. And we also have some upcoming webinars as well. So on Monday, we have Emily doing knee pain when exercising, and Dr. Sapna is going to be doing a acupressure and self-treatment for headache, TMJ, and sinus pressure. So that's going to be a really cool one to be able to do some self-treatment at home. And again, just a reminder that we are here for you. If there's any questions, feel free